The friend who suddenly disappears from your life was never meant to stay forever. They came to serve as a karmic mirror, reflecting back to you exactly what you needed to see about yourself for your spiritual growth. Once that reflection has accomplished its purpose and you've learned what you needed to learn, the mirror is no longer necessary and the friendship naturally dissolves. Today I'm going to show you how to recognize what each friendship was meant to teach you and why some connections are designed to be temporary. What I'm about to reveal will transform every friendship ending from personal rejection into spiritual graduation. In the next 45 minutes, you're going to discover the profound spiritual reasons behind sudden friendship endings and learn how to transform confusion and hurt into understanding and gratitude. You'll understand the different types of karmic contracts that create friendships, why some relationships are designed to be temporary, and how to recognize the specific spiritual lessons each friendship was meant to provide. You'll learn to identify which friendships are meant for lifelong companionship versus those designed for shorter spiritual assignments. Discover how to honor the completion of karmic contracts with grace instead of resistance, and understand how to integrate the gifts from ended friendships into your ongoing spiritual development. This knowledge will free you from taking friendship endings personally and help you see every connection, whether brief or lasting, as a perfectly orchestrated part of your soul's educational journey toward divine love and understanding. Few experiences are more painful or confusing than having a close friendship end suddenly without clear explanation. You replay conversations searching for what went wrong, wonder if you said or did something to cause the separation, or feel abandoned by someone you trusted and cared about deeply. Most approaches to understanding friendship endings focus on personality conflicts, life circumstances, or communication failures. While these surface factors might trigger the timing, they rarely explain why some relationships end so abruptly, while others survive much greater challenges. The truth is, friendship endings often have less to do with what happened between your personalities and more to do with what was accomplished between your souls. When you understand relationships from a karmic perspective, sudden endings become evidence of spiritual success rather than relational failure. What I'm sharing today comes from decades of counseling souls through relationship transitions and understanding how divine intelligence orchestrates human connections to serve each person's spiritual evolution. These insights have helped countless people transform relationship grief into spiritual gratitude. Today, we'll explore 4 profound dimensions of friendship endings that will revolutionize how you understand human connections. First, I'll reveal the different types of karmic contracts that create friendships and why some are naturally designed for brief encounters, while others support lifelong companionship. Then, we'll discover how to recognize when a friendship is approaching its natural completion versus when it's going through temporary challenges that can be resolved. You'll learn to distinguish between karmic completion and circumstantial difficulties. Next, I'll teach you how to honor friendship endings with grace and gratitude instead of resistance and resentment. This includes practices for releasing relationships with love when their spiritual purpose has been fulfilled. Finally, we'll explore how to integrate the gifts from ended friendships into your ongoing spiritual development, ensuring that no connection, however brief, fails to contribute to your soul's evolution. But here's what might surprise you most. The friends who leave your life suddenly often love you more at the soul level than those who stay forever. They volunteered for the difficult role of temporary connection, knowing their departure would initially cause pain, but ultimately serve your spiritual growth. What we'll discover today will transform every friendship ending from personal rejection into spiritual graduation, from abandonment into completion, from failure into success, at the deepest level where souls recognize and honor each other's service. So prepare to see your relationship history through the lens of divine orchestration and discover the profound love that operates even through friendship endings. My dear friend, to understand why some friendships end suddenly, you must first understand that every meaningful relationship in your life was created by a spiritual agreement made between souls before birth. These aren't random encounters or accidental connections. They're carefully planned spiritual collaborations designed to serve each soul's evolution. Before you incarnated into this lifetime, your soul met with the souls of everyone who would play significant roles in your spiritual education. Together, you planned the circumstances of your meetings, the nature of your relationships, and yes, the timing and manner of your separations when the spiritual work would be complete. These pre-birth agreements, which I call soul contracts, determine not only who comes into your life, but how long they stay and what they're meant to accomplish during your time together. Just as a theatrical production has a script that determines when each actor enters and exits the stage, your life has a spiritual script that governs the timing of relationship beginnings and endings. Understanding soul contracts completely transforms how you interpret friendship endings. Instead of seeing them as failures, rejections, or abandonment, you begin to recognize them as successful completions of spiritual agreements that were always meant to be temporary. There are 4 primary types of soul contracts that create different kinds of friendships, each with its own purpose and natural duration. Lifetime contracts are agreements between souls who commit to supporting each other's spiritual journey throughout an entire incarnation. These souls often incarnate together repeatedly across multiple lifetimes, playing different roles, sometimes as friends, sometimes as family members, sometimes as romantic partners, but always maintaining a connection that transcends any single lifetime. Lifetime contract friendships have certain recognizable characteristics. You often feel an immediate, inexplicable familiarity when you first meet, as if you've known each other forever. These relationships tend to survive major life changes, geographical separations, and personality differences that might end other connections. People in lifetime contracts often complement each other's spiritual development in ongoing ways. One might naturally encourage the other's courage while receiving support for their own compassion. These relationships don't just endure through time, they actively contribute to both people's spiritual evolution year after year. But lifetime contracts are actually quite rare. Most souls make only a few such agreements per incarnation because the commitment is enormous. Maintaining a lifetime spiritual partnership requires tremendous compatibility at the soul level, and usually indicates these souls have been working together for many incarnations. Chapter contracts are agreements to provide companionship and support during specific phases of spiritual development. These friendships are designed to last for particular life chapters, perhaps during childhood, college years, early career development, or major life transitions. But they naturally complete when the supported growth phase is finished. Chapter contract friends often appear exactly when you most need their particular qualities or perspectives. They might provide encouragement during a difficult period, companionship during a lonely phase, or guidance through a challenging transition. But once you've integrated their support and moved into your next developmental phase, the friendship naturally fades even if both people remain fond of each other. I remember counseling a student who was heartbroken because her closest friend from college had become increasingly distant after graduation, despite their promises to stay in touch forever. When we explored their connection from a karmic perspective, she recognized that this friend had provided exactly the confidence and social skills she needed during her shy college years. Once she had internalized these qualities and no longer needed external support to feel socially confident, the friend's chapter contract was complete. Understanding this helped her appreciate the tremendous gift this friendship had provided, instead of feeling abandoned by its natural ending. Lesson contracts are perhaps the most intense and often the most confusing type of spiritual agreement. These souls come together specifically to teach each other particular spiritual lessons, often challenging ones involving forgiveness, boundaries, self-worth, or unconditional love. Lesson contract friendships are frequently dramatic, emotionally intense, and may involve significant conflict or challenge. This isn't because these souls dislike each other, but because the lessons they've agreed to teach require creating specific circumstances that push each person beyond their comfort zones. The friend who consistently takes advantage of your generosity might be helping you learn healthy boundaries. The friend who becomes competitive or jealous might be teaching you about your own self-worth and the difference between conditional and unconditional love. The friend who betrays your trust might be helping you learn discernment and forgiveness. Lesson contract friendships often end abruptly once the primary lesson has been learned. The soul who was playing the challenging role may suddenly lose interest in the relationship, move away, or even seem to become a different person entirely. This isn't cruelty, it's the natural completion of a difficult spiritual assignment. These endings can be particularly painful because the intensity of the relationship created deep emotional involvement, but understanding the spiritual purpose helps transform hurt into gratitude for the growth that occurred. Healing contracts involve souls who agree to help each other resolve specific karmic wounds, usually from past lifetimes or childhood experiences. These friends often have an intuitive understanding of each other's pain and provide exactly the kind of acceptance, understanding, or challenge needed for healing. Healing contract friends might appear during or just after traumatic experiences, offering the precise support needed for recovery. They often have complementary wounds. One person's healing journey provides exactly what the other needs to see for their own healing. These relationships may be brief, but profoundly transformative. Once the healing work is complete, the friends may naturally drift apart, not because the love is gone, but because the spiritual wound that drew them together has been resolved. Sometimes healing contracts involve one soul volunteering to absorb or process difficult karma for another. This is an enormous spiritual service that requires great love and often appears as one friend consistently supporting another through challenges while receiving little apparent support in return. Understanding these different contract types helps explain why some friendships survive everything while others end despite the absence of obvious problems. It's not about the strength of personality compatibility, it's about the nature and duration of the spiritual agreement that brought the souls together. When you can recognize which type of contract governs your friendships, you can appreciate each connection for what it's meant to provide, rather than expecting every friendship to last forever or provide the same type of support. The key insight is that spiritual success in relationships isn't measured by duration, but by whether the intended spiritual work was accomplished. A brief lesson contract friendship that successfully taught both souls important truths is more successful than a lifetime contract friendship where both people avoided their spiritual growth opportunities. Now that you understand the spiritual contracts behind friendships, let me teach you how to recognize when a friendship is reaching its natural completion versus when it's experiencing temporary challenges that can be worked through. This distinction is crucial because trying to force the continuation of a karmic contract that has completed creates suffering for both people, while prematurely abandoning a relationship that's going through temporary difficulties prevents the spiritual growth that could occur through working together to resolve problems. Karmic completion has several unmistakable characteristics that feel very different from ordinary relationship challenges. The first sign is what I call mutual spiritual satisfaction. Both people feel, at a deep level, that they've received what they needed from the relationship, even if their personalities might prefer to continue the connection. This satisfaction isn't about getting everything you wanted from the friendship, but about receiving the specific spiritual gifts or lessons that your soul contracted to obtain. You might feel grateful for the relationship and sad about its ending simultaneously, but there's an underlying sense of completion that brings peace even amid the sadness. Another sign of karmic completion is natural drift without conflict. Unlike relationships that end due to arguments, betrayals, or major disagreements, karmically complete friendships often fade through natural changes in interests, circumstances, or life directions. Neither person is angry, but the connection simply becomes less relevant to both people's current spiritual needs. When karmic completion is occurring, efforts to maintain the friendship often feel forced or artificial. Conversations that once flowed naturally become stilted. Activities you enjoyed together no longer create the same satisfaction. Phone calls feel like obligations rather than pleasures. This isn't because either person has failed or changed in problematic ways. It's because the spiritual magnetism that originally drew you together has fulfilled its purpose and no longer operates to maintain the connection. A third sign is peaceful acceptance of change. When a friendship is karmically complete, both people often find themselves naturally accepting the relationship's transformation without desperate attempts to restore what used to be. There's an intuitive understanding that something important has been accomplished, and it's time to move forward. I counseled a student who described this perfectly. I kept thinking I should try harder to maintain our friendship, but every time I considered calling her, I felt peaceful about not calling instead. It wasn't that I didn't care. I just felt complete with what we had shared. Contrast these signs with temporary challenges that can be resolved through conscious effort and communication. Circumstantial difficulties usually involve external stressors that affect the friendship but don't indicate karmic completion. Job pressures, family responsibilities, health challenges, geographical distance, or major life transitions can temporarily strain friendships without indicating that the spiritual contract is complete. These challenges often create communication gaps or different priorities, but the underlying spiritual connection remains strong. Personality conflicts or unmet expectations can also create temporary difficulties that don't indicate karmic completion. If both people still feel drawn to maintain the friendship despite current problems, and if working through the challenges could contribute to both people's spiritual growth, the relationship may be experiencing growth pains rather than natural completion. The key difference is whether addressing the challenges feels spiritually alive and growth promoting for both people. If working through problems together would help both souls evolve, the friendship isn't karmically complete. If attempts to resolve difficulties feel flat, forced, or spiritually stagnant, completion may be approaching. Sometimes friendships need to transform their form rather than end completely. A romantic friendship might need to become a companionate one. An everyday friendship might need to become an occasional connection. A mentoring friendship might need to shift to peer relationship. When karmic contracts are complete, people often remain fond of each other and grateful for the relationship, while naturally releasing attachment to maintaining its previous form. This is different from avoiding problems or giving up on meaningful connections. Distinguishing between completion and avoidance requires honest self-examination. Are you releasing the friendship because the spiritual work is genuinely complete, or are you avoiding growth opportunities that working through challenges could provide? True karmic completion brings peace, gratitude, and a sense of having received important gifts, even when you feel sad about the ending. Avoidance usually brings relief mixed with regret, guilt, or the sense that something important was left unfinished. Learning to recognize these differences helps you honor both the natural completion of fulfilled contracts and the ongoing potential in relationships that are experiencing temporary difficulties but haven't yet accomplished their spiritual purpose. When you can distinguish between spiritual completion and circumstantial challenges, you can respond appropriately to each situation rather than either clinging to completed relationships or abandoning connections that could still contribute to your spiritual evolution. Now that you can recognize when friendships are naturally completing their spiritual purpose, let me teach you how to honor these endings with grace and gratitude rather than resistance and resentment. How you handle the completion of karmic contracts determines whether these endings become sources of spiritual growth and peace, or create lasting wounds and negative karma that may need to be resolved in future lifetimes. Learning to release completed friendships with love is one of the most important spiritual skills you can develop. The foundation of graceful release is what I call spiritual gratitude. Appreciation for the gifts received through the relationship rather than focus on what you're losing through its ending. This isn't about forcing positive feelings when you're genuinely sad, but about recognizing the spiritual success that occurred even as you acknowledge the natural human sadness of letting go. Begin by identifying the specific ways this friendship contributed to your spiritual development. What qualities did you develop through this connection? What lessons did you learn? How did this person's presence in your life help you become more loving, wise, compassionate, or strong? Often, the people who leave our lives suddenly have provided gifts we didn't fully recognize until after their departure. The friend who challenged your people-pleasing tendencies helped you develop authenticity. The friend who was unreliable taught you self-reliance. The friend who was emotionally needy helped you discover your capacity for compassion. One of my students realized that her friend, who had suddenly become distant after years of close connection, had actually been helping her learn independence. She had become so dependent on this friend for emotional support that she had never developed her own internal source of strength. When the friend naturally pulled back as their karmic contract completed, my student was forced to develop the self-reliance and inner security she needed for her next phase of spiritual growth. Once she recognized this gift, her hurt transformed into profound gratitude for the friend's unconscious wisdom in withdrawing exactly when continued dependence would have hindered both their development. The practice of spiritual gratitude doesn't deny the reality of loss or sadness. It places these natural human emotions within the larger context of spiritual purpose and divine orchestration. The second element of graceful release is what I call blessing practice. Consciously sending love and good wishes to friends who are departing from your life, rather than harboring resentment about their leaving. This practice serves multiple spiritual purposes. It completes your karmic relationship with love, rather than creating negative karma through resentment. It helps you maintain heart connection with departed friends, while releasing attachment to continuing the relationship's previous form. And it keeps your own heart open to new connections, rather than closing it through bitterness about past losses. Blessing practice can be as simple as silently saying, "Thank you for the gifts you brought to my life. I release you to your highest good with love and gratitude. May you be happy, may you be at peace. May your spiritual journey bring you everything your soul seeks." For deeper practice, spend time in meditation visualizing the departed friend surrounded by light and love. Send them appreciation for their service to your spiritual development. Express forgiveness for any ways the relationship fell short of your expectations, and ask forgiveness for any ways you may not have appreciated their gifts fully. This blessing practice often creates remarkable healing and closure, even when the departed friend is unaware of your spiritual work. Many students report that after blessing former friends, they either receive unexpected communication expressing mutual appreciation, or they simply feel complete peace about the relationship's ending. The third element is ritual release, creating conscious ceremonies that honor the relationship's completion while symbolically releasing your attachment to its continuation. These rituals help your subconscious mind process the transition from active friendship to grateful memory. They provide closure when the friendship ended without formal goodbye, and they mark the spiritual achievement represented by successfully completing a karmic contract. Simple release rituals might involve writing a letter of gratitude to the departed friend that you don't send but either burn, bury, or keep as a personal ceremony. You might create a small altar with photos and mementos from the friendship, spending time in appreciation before lovingly putting these items away. Some people find it meaningful to make charitable donations or perform acts of service in honor of departed friends, expressing gratitude for their gifts by passing kindness forward to others. The specific form of ritual matters less than the conscious intention to honor what was received, release what is ending, and open to whatever new connections are meant to enter your life. The fourth element is integration work, actively incorporating the gifts and lessons from ended friendships into your ongoing spiritual development, rather than treating these relationships as closed chapters with no continuing relevance. Every meaningful friendship leaves you with expanded capacity for love, wisdom, or understanding that remains with you forever. The friend who taught you courage doesn't take that courage away when they leave. It becomes part of your permanent spiritual development. The friend who helped you discover your creativity doesn't remove that creativity when the relationship ends. It becomes part of your ongoing potential for self-expression. Integration work involves consciously claiming and developing the qualities that various friendships helped awaken in you. If a friend helped you discover your sense of humor, continue developing that playfulness even after they're gone. If someone helped you access your emotional depth, continue cultivating that sensitivity in new relationships. This integration ensures that no friendship truly ends. The spiritual gifts continue flowing through your development and into new connections, creating a continuous stream of growth that honors every relationship's contribution to your evolution. The ultimate goal of graceful release isn't to eliminate sadness about friendship endings, but to experience that sadness within the context of spiritual understanding and gratitude. You can feel genuinely sad about losing someone's daily presence, while simultaneously feeling grateful for the gifts they provided and peaceful about the relationship's completion. This balanced response to friendship endings helps you remain open to new connections, rather than protecting yourself through emotional withdrawal. It also helps you appreciate current friendships more deeply because you understand their precious but potentially temporary nature. When you master graceful release, friendship endings transform from sources of bitterness and confusion into evidence of spiritual success and divine orchestration. You begin to see every departed friend as a soul who served your development with love, even if their service appeared temporarily as challenge or conflict. This perspective helps heal old relationship wounds and creates positive karma that attracts more meaningful connections into your life. People are naturally drawn to those who radiate appreciation and spiritual maturity rather than resentment and emotional neediness. The final step in working with friendship endings spiritually is learning how to preserve and integrate the gifts from completed relationships into your ongoing spiritual development, ensuring that no connection, however brief, fails to contribute to your soul's continuous evolution. The friends who leave your life don't take their gifts with them. Every quality they helped you develop, every lesson they helped you learn, every expansion of love they facilitated becomes permanently part of your spiritual development. The key is consciously claiming and building upon these gifts, rather than losing them to grief or resentment about the relationship's ending. This integration process begins with what I call gift recognition. honestly identifying the specific ways each friendship contributed to your spiritual growth. This goes deeper than just feeling grateful. It requires recognizing how you've actually changed and expanded through each connection. Ask yourself, how am I different because of this friendship? What qualities do I now possess that I didn't have before this connection? What understanding about myself, others, or life did this relationship help me discover? How did this person's presence help me access parts of myself that had been dormant or undeveloped? Sometimes the gifts are obvious. A friend who encouraged your artistic expression helped you discover creative talents you didn't know you possessed. A friend who supported you through difficult times helped you develop resilience and faith in your ability to survive challenges. But often the most valuable gifts are subtle and might only become apparent after the friendship has ended. A friend whose neediness initially frustrated you might have been helping you develop patience and compassion. A friend whose success made you feel competitive might have been helping you discover your own ambitions and desire for achievement. Even difficult friends who created problems in your life often provided valuable gifts. The friend who was unreliable helped you develop self-reliance. The friend who was judgmental helped you strengthen your sense of self-worth. The friend who betrayed your trust helped you develop discernment about whom to confide in. Once you've identified the specific gifts each friendship provided, the next step is quality cultivation. Actively developing and expressing these qualities in new contexts rather than letting them fade with the relationship's ending. If a friend helped you discover your capacity for deep conversation, seek out other people who appreciate meaningful dialogue. If someone helped you access your playful side, continue engaging in activities that express that playfulness. If a friend helped you develop courage, look for new opportunities to act bravely in service of your values. This cultivation helps you embody the spiritual growth that occurred through various friendships, rather than losing that development when the relationships end. It also ensures that the gifts keep expanding rather than remaining static. Many students discover that consciously cultivating gifts from past friendships actually improves their current relationships. The patience you develop with one friend helps you love your family more skillfully. The honesty you learn to express with another friend deepens your current romantic relationship. The boundaries you developed in response to a difficult friend protect your energy for more positive connections. The third aspect of integration is wisdom application, using insights gained through various friendships to make better choices in current and future relationships. Every friendship teaches you something about what you need in relationships, what you have to offer others, what your patterns and triggers are, and how love can be expressed and received. Integrating these lessons helps you approach new connections with greater wisdom and consciousness. You might discover that you're attracted to people who need help because helping others makes you feel valuable, but that these relationships become draining when they lack reciprocity. This awareness helps you choose future friends who appreciate your generous nature while also being able to give support in return. You might recognize that you tend to lose yourself in intense friendships, giving so much attention to the other person's needs that you neglect your own development. This insight helps you maintain healthier boundaries in new relationships while still being genuinely caring and supportive. The fourth aspect is heart connection maintenance, staying connected to the love you shared with departed friends while releasing attachment to continuing the relationship's previous form. This means recognizing that the love between souls doesn't end when the friendship's active phase completes. The appreciation, care, and positive energy you develop for each friend remains part of your heart's capacity even when you're no longer in regular contact. Maintaining heart connection doesn't mean trying to restart ended friendships or refusing to accept their completion. It means carrying the love forward as a permanent expansion of your capacity to care about others' well-being. This heart connection often manifests as spontaneous good wishes for departed friends, hoping they're happy and fulfilled even when you're no longer part of their daily lives. It might involve feeling grateful when you hear they're doing well, or sending loving thoughts when they cross your mind. Some students find that maintaining heart connection with past friends actually enhances their ability to love current friends more freely because they're not desperately trying to make each relationship meet all their emotional needs. The ultimate result of successful integration is what I call relationship wisdom, approaching all connections with understanding that each person who enters your life brings specific gifts and lessons, that all relationships serve spiritual purpose, whether they last briefly or permanently, and that love itself is never lost even when relationships change form. This wisdom helps you appreciate current friendships more deeply because you understand their precious and potentially temporary nature. It also helps you remain open to new connections because you trust that everyone you meet has something valuable to contribute to your spiritual development. When you've successfully integrated the gifts from completed friendships, you often find that new connections are deeper and more satisfying because you bring greater wisdom, appreciation, and love to them. The spiritual development that occurred through past relationships becomes the foundation for even more meaningful future connections. This creates an upward spiral where each relationship builds upon the gifts from previous ones, leading to increasingly conscious and loving connections that serve everyone's spiritual evolution more effectively. My beloved friend, what we've explored today reveals that friendship endings are rarely about personal failure or abandonment. They're usually about spiritual completion and divine timing. You now understand the different types of soul contracts that create various friendship experiences and how to recognize when relationships are naturally completing their purpose. You've learned to distinguish between karmic completion and temporary challenges, discovered how to release ended friendships with grace and gratitude, and understand how to integrate the gifts from every connection into your ongoing spiritual development. Remember, the friends who leave your life suddenly aren't necessarily the ones who loved you least. They may be the ones who loved you enough to play temporary but transformative roles in your spiritual education. Every person who has touched your life with genuine connection has contributed something essential to your spiritual development. Some provided ongoing companionship and support. Others delivered specific lessons or healing that required shorter but intense involvement. All served love's purpose of helping you become more fully yourself. The pain of friendship endings is real and natural. It reflects the depth of connection and care that occurred. But this pain can coexist with understanding and appreciation for the spiritual service that was provided. You don't have to choose between grieving the loss and celebrating the gifts received. What transforms relationship pain into spiritual wisdom is recognizing that everyone who entered your life with love, however briefly, was responding to your soul's call for exactly what they provided. The friend who taught you boundaries came because your soul was ready to learn healthy self-protection. The friend who shared your interests came because your soul needed companionship in exploring certain possibilities. The friend who challenged your assumptions came because your soul was ready for expanded understanding. So when a friendship ends unexpectedly, instead of asking, "What did I do wrong?" ask, "What did we accomplish together? What did this connection teach me? How can I honor the gift of this relationship, even as its form changes?" This shift in perspective transforms loss into gratitude and confusion into understanding. From this spiritual perspective, there are no failed friendships, only successful ones that accomplish their purpose quickly and successful ones that continue providing gifts over longer periods. Duration doesn't determine value. The brief friendship that awakened your creativity may have provided more lasting benefit than connections that lasted years without promoting significant growth. I'm deeply curious about your experiences with sudden friendship endings. Looking back, can you recognize patterns in which friendships were meant to be temporary versus those designed for longer companionship? Have you ever had a friendship that ended abruptly but later realized it had taught you something essential? Here's another question for reflection. What qualities do you now possess that were awakened or strengthened through friendships that have ended? How might those gifts continue serving your spiritual development and your ability to love others? And consider this. If you could see your departed friends from the soul level rather than the personality level, what appreciation might you want to express for the roles they played in your spiritual education? Share your stories in the comments. Often, reflecting on our relationship patterns helps us recognize the divine wisdom operating through our connections, even when that wisdom isn't immediately obvious. Sometimes understanding one friendship's spiritual purpose illuminates the deeper meaning in other relationships as well. Your insights might help someone else recognize the gifts in their own friendship experiences. If this perspective on friendship endings has brought you peace or helped you understand your relationship experiences in a new way, I invite you to subscribe to our channel and consider joining our YouTube membership community. Your support allows us to continue exploring the spiritual dimensions of human experience that bring healing and understanding. For those seeking deeper insights about relationships and spiritual growth, join our free email community where I share additional guidance about understanding soul connections, healing relationship wounds, and recognizing the divine orchestration in your personal relationships. You'll find the link in the description below. Remember, when you begin to see your relationships through the lens of spiritual purpose, rather than just personal preference, you transform every connection into a sacred opportunity for growth and service. Your understanding helps others recognize the spiritual gifts in their own relationship experiences. Every friendship ending you heal through spiritual understanding contributes to the healing of collective relationship consciousness. When you transform hurt into gratitude and confusion into wisdom, you help create a world where people can love each other freely without desperately clinging to connections or taking endings personally. Your willingness to see departed friends as souls who served your development with love helps other people recognize the same truth about their own relationship experiences. This creates ripples of healing that touch countless other hearts struggling with the pain of friendship loss. The love you carry forward from completed friendships becomes the foundation for deeper and more conscious connections in the future. Every quality that past friends helped you develop becomes a gift you can offer to new relationships, creating an ever-expanding circle of love and spiritual service. When you honor the spiritual success represented by every meaningful connection, whether it lasted days or decades, you become someone who attracts other conscious souls ready for authentic, purposeful relationships. Your appreciation for love in all its forms makes you magnetic to others who understand relationships as opportunities for mutual spiritual growth. Until we meet again in the love that connects all souls across time and space, may you see every friendship, whether brief or lasting, as a perfect expression of divine love serving your highest evolution, and may you honor every connection with the gratitude it deserves for contributing to your spiritual journey. May every person who has loved you know, at the soul level, that their service was recognized and appreciated. May every ending be transformed into completion, every loss into gain, and every friendship into permanent expansion of your capacity to love and be loved. And may your understanding of love's eternal nature help heal the wounds of separation and create space for new connections that serve the continuing evolution of your beautiful, expanding heart. There are certain souls you meet on the path whose presence doesn't speak with words, yet leaves you strangely emptied like a vessel poured out quietly in the dark. Have you ever noticed this? You enter a room with a light heart and leave with shoulders slouched, as if something invisible settled itself upon your back. Perhaps a conversation that should have felt casual instead left your mind spinning, your chest strangely tight, your inner joy flickering like a lamp in wind. What is this strange phenomenon? Why do some interactions revive your spirit while others hollow you out? The modern world has many names for this toxic people: emotional vampires, narcissists. But let us speak the language of the soul. Let us leave behind psychological labels and enter the temple of divine perception. The truth is far more nuanced and far more liberating. It is not about personalities, it is about vibrations. Every soul is surrounded by an aura, an energy field spun from thought, desire, and karma. It is not fantasy, it is the spiritual science of vibration. Yogananda explained, "The human body is not the true self. It is a garment, woven from light and sustained by the silent dynamo of the spine. That spine is your battery. Your soul's sacred energy flows through its centers, the chakra sand, outward into the world. When you interact with another, there is more than a handshake. There is a transfer of vibration, an unseen communion of magnetic force. Some of these forces are harmonizing, others are discordant, and still others are deeply, subtly draining, not because the person is evil, but because their vibration is in turmoil. Their inner unrest reaches out, latches onto your stillness, and feeds without even knowing it. Their fear consumes your faith. Their restlessness swallows your calm. Their unconscious thirst pulls at the oasis of your God communion. And the more attuned you are, the more deeply you will feel it. This is why some souls, even if smiling, can leave you feeling dull and disconnected from God. Their vibration does not match your sand. Instead of harmony, there is hunger. Instead of mutual upliftment, there is siphoning. You begin to feel less like a soul and more like a sponge. Do not doubt this feeling. The soul speaks in silence. It alerts you not with words, but with sensation. Your fatigue is not laziness. Your inner tension is not drama. These are the ripples in your spiritual waters, stirred by invisible winds. You feel the drain because you are alive to vibration. That awareness is not a burden. it is a blessing. Now, remember this metaphor. Your spiritual energy is sacred oil. In ancient temples, the priests would tend to the lamps with oil that had been sanctified blessed through mantra and devotion. It could not be spilled. It could not be defiled. It was not casually shared. You too carry sacred oil in the lamp of your spine. Each moment of peace, each silent prayer, each Kriya breath adds to it, and every interaction either protects that flame or lets it spill. When you speak to someone who radiates calm, you feel recharged. Your spine lifts, your heart glows. This is sacred exchange. But when you interact with one whose thoughts swirl like dust in a storm, your oil is drawn out to steady their flame. And if they are unconscious, they will not notice the drain, but you will. This is why you walk away tired. This is why you avoid certain people without knowing why. The soul remembers what the mind cannot explain. So I tell you now, what you feel is real, and you are not wrong for feeling it. You are simply waking up to the hidden currents of this world. To understand why some souls deplete your spirit, you must first understand what you truly are not in theory, but in divine essence. You are not a body made of matter. You are not a fleeting identity made of thoughts and memory. You are not the emotions you feel, nor the past you carry. You are energy, vibratory, radiant, immortal. This is not a poetic exaggeration. It is the eternal fact of your being. Yogananda taught that beneath the outer form, every human is composed of intelligent, conscious, and divine energy. This energy flows from spirit through the individualized soul, down into the astral body, and finally into the physical form. What you call life is the radiant current of this divine force, animating the nerves, the organs, the brain, the breath. But its true home is the spine. Your spine is not merely a structure of bones and nerves, it is a spiritual altar, a highway of energy and consciousness, rising from the base of the body to the brain's spiritual eye. Yogananda often called this spinal channel the highway to God, the secret gateway through which the soul ascends. Along this axis flow the energies of your karma, your thoughts, your aspirations, your memories, your divine longing. Through the 6 centers, Muladhara, Svadhisthana, Manipura, Anahata, Vishuddha, and Ajnatha, life force rises and descends, carrying with it the tone of your entire inner life. And because this life force is intelligent and magnetic, it is in constant communication with the world around you. Every conversation, every glance, every environment interacts with this subtle river of divine force. You may not hear it with your ears, but your nervous system does. You may not see it with your eyes, but your aura does. You are transmitting energy always and receiving it just as constantly. Like a radio tower made of subtle light, you are continuously attuning, absorbing, transmitting, responding. This is why spiritual fatigue is not imaginary. This is why you can spend an hour in silence with a saint and feel renewed for days, and why 10 minutes in the presence of a restless or angry person can leave you shaken. It is not mood, it is magnetism. Yogananda said that thought itself is a force it travels, it creates, it attracts or repels. When another person enters your field, their thoughts, especially repetitive ones, strike your aura. Their gaze, especially when unconscious, transfers astral messages. Their voice, modulated by the tone of their karma, delivers to you not just sound, but spiritual frequency. So understand this: the eyes are portals, not just windows. When someone looks at you, their inner state flows outward through that gaze. If their gaze is filled with desire, fear, manipulation, or confusion, your spiritual energy must shield or absorb what comes. And if your shield is low, if you are tired, open, or unguarded, then their vibration enters, bypasses your intellect, and lands in the subconscious. And the voice? The voice is even more potent. Yogananda taught that every word carries mental vibration. The tone, the cadence, the emotional imprint behind the words, all of this becomes a carrier wave that delivers energetic content directly into your nervous system. This is why mere words can heal, and why idle chatter can exhaust. This is why mantra uplifts, and why complaint destroys inner peace. And beyond speech or gaze, there is aura, the silent field that surrounds each person. That aura is not passive, it is dynamic. Some auras emit healing. Others pull unconsciously from their environment. The one who is filled with worry transmits worry. The one who is addicted to drama pulls you into it. The one who doubts emits currents of doubt. And you, if unaware, begin to absorb these vibrations, often blaming yourself for the resulting inner shift. So how does the soul defend itself? It begins with knowledge, awareness, perception. You must know that this exchange is happening constantly, and that your first spiritual duty is to maintain the sanctity of your own vibratory field. That is not selfishness, that is stewardship. You are a keeper of divine energy. Each day of spiritual practice, each Kriya breath, each moment of inner stillness charges the battery of your spine with sacred voltage. It lifts the current upward toward illumination. But that current can be disrupted, dispersed, or depleted by repeated exposure to low vibrations. That is why saints choose seclusion. That is why Yogananda, at times, would fast not from food, but from speech. He was protecting the energy field required for divine communion. You must do the same. Understand that spiritual energy is not merely emotional strength, it is sacred electricity. It is the charge of the divine flowing through the temple of your body. And like all electricity, it must be guided, protected, respected. Do not let it leak through meaningless speech. Do not let it be drained through unconscious contact. Do not let it be stolen by those who neither see nor revere its light. Your spiritual vitality is not an infinite well, it is a divine investment. It must be renewed, and it must be guarded. So the next time you walk away from someone feeling less clear, less joyful, less present, pause, reflect, recognize. You did not imagine that drain. You experienced a real vibratory shift. And now, through divine knowledge, you will learn how to master it. There is a silent burden many souls carry, a soft but sharp guilt that coils itself around their spiritual discernment. It whispers, "You are being judgmental. You are being selfish. You should love everyone equally. You should endure." And because the soul longs to love, longs to serve, longs to radiate divine compassion to all, this guilt takes root easily. It grows in the heart of the sincere seeker like a vine, clinging, tightening, suffocating the inner knowing that says, quietly but firmly, something is not right. I am being drained. I am losing my peace. And yet, instead of honoring that sacred signal, the seeker often turns inward with blame. Perhaps I am not spiritual enough to withstand this. Perhaps I lack the compassion of the saints. Perhaps it is my ego that recoils. And so they stay. They listen longer than they should. They pour light into others even when their own flame flickers. They offer themselves as a reservoir to all who thirst, even when they themselves are cracked and dry. My beloved, listen well. This is not love. This is not God's way. This is not divine wisdom. You are not cold for feeling the need to withdraw. You are not lacking compassion because you need stillness more than noise. You are not heartless because you feel your light dim around certain people and choose to protect it. This is not spiritual failure. This is spiritual refinement. As the soul becomes more attuned to the frequency of spirit, it becomes more sensitive and not more indifferent. A raw, open heart does not mean an exposed, wounded one. Even Christ, in his boundless love, retreated to the mountain. Even I, though surrounded by disciples and devotees, would find refuge in silence, shielding the delicate instrument of my consciousness from unnecessary vibration. Divine love is not martyrdom. It is not the art of depletion. It is not a vow to let others consume your light simply because they hunger. Love is sacred discernment. It is the wisdom to recognize that some are not ready to receive, and some will only take. Love sees this not with anger, not with pride, not with judgment, but with clarity. You can love a drowning man without leaping into the ocean with him. You can radiate compassion without allowing yourself to be consumed. Too often, spirituality is misunderstood as passive endurance. But the highest saints did not allow themselves to be abused in the name of love. They did not offer their sacred energy to anyone who approached with need. They chose, with divine direction, they chose when to give, how to give, and to whom to give. They knew that their light was God's to manage, not the world's to demand. And so must you. Let me take from you now the burden of misplaced guilt. Let me lift from your shoulders the cloak of confusion that says, I must be wrong for feeling this discomfort. No. That discomfort is your soul warning you. That unease is the inner compass turning, pointing you back toward God, away from the siphoning pull of a restless vibration. Do not ignore that compass. Do not silence that voice. It is not harsh, it is holy. The rose does not apologize for its thorns. The sun does not beg forgiveness for setting. The mountain does not weep when it remains unmoved by the storm. These do not lack love. They are love made strong, love made true, love grounded in the natural law of God's order. You too must learn this. To withdraw is not to reject. To protect your energy is not to withhold your love. It is to preserve your ability to serve from truth. For when the soul is drained, what it gives is not love, but exhaustion. What it shares is not light, but duty. And that is not what God asks of you. He asks that you honor Him within yourself, that you treasure the temple of your spirit as He treasures it, that you become so charged with His presence that when you do give, you give from overflow, not emptiness, from radiance, not resentment. So when you feel the need to step back, to protect, to shield your soul, say inwardly, I do this not because I am cold. I do this because I am warm, and I must keep my fire lit. And let that be your peace. There are certain signs, not loud, not dramatic, but unmistakably divine, that signal when another's presence is no longer simply a human interaction, but a spiritual depletion. These signs are not imagined. They are not emotional mood swings. They are real indicators, felt first in the subtle body, long before the intellect can label them. The soul speaks in sensations, in gentle alerts, in sacred contractions of energy that say, be still, be aware. Something here is not right. And though these signs often appear softly, they are luminous truths for those who have eyes to see and ears to feel. If you have ever walked away from an interaction with a heaviness that made no sense, a fatigue you could not trace, or a confusion that clouded your once clear focus, then listen now. I will name these signs for you, not to judge another soul, but to reveal how your own divine intelligence is already guiding you. These are not accusations. These are navigational lights on the road back to spiritual sovereignty. The first sign is this: your heart center tightens, but not with joy, with burden. There is a sacred difference between the expansion of compassion and the contraction of survival. When you are in the presence of one who uplifts you, your chest rises, you breathe more freely, your shoulders loosen, your breath slows and deepens as the heart opens, inviting the presence of God. This is not mere emotion, it is the physical evidence of a spiritual resonance. But when you are around one whose energy clashes with your chest, especially one who drains, you will feel it in your chest, a subtle constriction, an urge to protect, to shield, to withdraw. You may not realize it in the moment, but your body does. Your hands may instinctively cross, your breath may quicken. You may find yourself wanting to move away. This is the heart chakra, the anahata, guarding its current, not from malice, but from overload. It is not cruelty, it is spiritual biology. The second sign is what follows after the interaction, not during it. This is where the truth reveals itself, for not all drainers are aggressive or unpleasant. Some may be kind. Some may seem loving, even gentle. But once you part ways, you feel it. A dense fog lingers in your mind. Your inner joy dims. There is a sadness that wasn't yours, now sitting in your soul. This delayed reaction is the signature of astral entanglement. Their vibration, through eye contact, words, or simply shared presence, has attached itself to your field. Their heaviness has slipped through your openness and found lodging in your thoughts. Yogananda taught that thoughts are living entities. They travel, they influence, they inhabit. When another person's thoughts are charged with anxiety, envy, or need, and they lack awareness, they unconsciously offload that weight onto whoever is most open. If you are spiritually sensitive, you may have taken that energy into yourself without even realizing. And now, hours later, you feel unlike yourself. That is the sign. The third sign, perhaps the most subtle but most sacred, is this: you forget God's presence during the interaction. This is the highest test. Your connection to the divine is the soul's most intimate awareness. It is not always dramatic. It is often a silent thrida, soft remembrance, a glow at the spiritual eye, a peace flowing behind your breath. But when you engage with someone who drains you, this remembrance fades. You stop praying inwardly. You lose sight of your center. You begin to respond not from the spiritual eye, but from the emotional body. The stillness you held all morning vanishes in their presence. The devotion you had in meditation dissipates without warning. And when they leave, you find yourself bewildered. Where did my peace go? My beloved, this is the clearest sign of all. When another's energy pulls you out of your God remembrance, they are not merely tiring. They are, in that moment, a karmic test. It does not matter whether they are family or stranger, kind or cruel, aware or unaware. If your inner gaze shifts from God to restlessness, that soul is, whether knowingly or not, a drain. And you must reclaim your center not through anger, but through presence, not through rejection, but through silent prayer. So pause now. Reflect. Have you felt these signs? The tightness in the chest, the post-conversation gloom, the loss of God's light within your awareness. Do not doubt these messages. They are not paranoia, they are perception. Your spiritual instrument is functioning perfectly, and it is time you begin to listen to it, not as a warning of fear, but as a whisper of love. For your soul was not made to constantly compensate for the unrest of others. Your soul was made to remain in the peace of God, radiating not out of obligation, but out of overflow. There is a mystery that moves beneath the surface of every connection, invisible to the eyes, but deeply felt by the soul current of past life memory, of unfinished contracts, of karmic resonance carried silently across incarnations. You do not just meet people in this life, you recognize them. Some by their joy, others by their pain. And a few, by the strange heaviness they stir within you, even before a word is spoken. This is not imagination. This is karmic vibration. Yogananda revealed that the law of karma governs not only our experiences, but our relationships' subtle bindings formed by past actions, past debts, past betrayals, or unresolved spiritual lessons. These cords are not always visible, but they are real, pulsing in the astral ether like unseen threads, linking soul to soul across time. And here is the sacred truth. Some of these cords are not of love, but of theft. Not in malice, but in vibration. When you feel drained by someone's presence, when your inner light dims in their company without cause, when you feel strangely bound to them by guilt, fear, or compassion that seems larger than this life, that may be the whisper of a karmic cord, drawing your energy, tethering your vitality, not to truth, but to memory. These cords are formed through shared intensity emotional exchanges, promises made in previous lives, pain inflicted, or deep dependencies that were never resolved. In this lifetime, they re-emerge, not with clarity, but with a pull, a subtle spiritual siphon that asks you to give without knowing why. And often, you do. Have you ever felt unable to say no to someone, even when every part of you wanted to? Have you ever felt a strange, inexplicable sense of responsibility for another's pain guilt that had no origin, as though you owed them something your mind couldn't explain? Have you found yourself returning again and again to the same draining interaction, unable to break the cycle, yet exhausted each time? That is not weakness. That is karma. It is the soul's memory operating beneath the conscious mind. But karma is not destiny. It is curriculum. These cords are not punishments, they are invitations. They arise not to trap you, but to test your readiness to remember who you truly are. A soul, not a servant. A radiant being of light, not a repository for others' unrest. You are here to resolve karma, not to be enslaved by it. And sometimes, resolution does not mean staying. It means seeing. It means awakening. It means untying the thread, not tightening it. Yogananda taught that to cut the karmic cord is not to reject the other, it is to release both souls into their freedom. And now let us speak of vibrational theft. It is an uncomfortable phrase, but it must be spoken. There are those, often unconsciously, sometimes habitually, who take energy from others not because they are evil, but because they do not know how to generate their own spiritual current. They live in the basement of their consciousness, unaware of the great central sun within them, and so they reach out, again and again, to those who shine. They talk incessantly, not to connect, but to anchor their restlessness to your stillness. They share their chaos not to heal, but to relieve themselves of its burden by placing it upon your shoulders. They pull on your attention like a child, but what they seek is not your wisdom, it is your energy. They cannot fill themselves, so they drink from your well. And unless you are vigilant, you will feel it as weariness, as mental fog, as a loss of your inner radiance. Yogananda compared this phenomenon to the act of one car drawing current from another, a process familiar to mechanics and saints alike. If one battery is dead and the other charged, cables may be used to transfer the energy. For a moment, it seems merciful. But if repeated without renewal, the once charged battery becomes depleted too. And so it is with spiritual energy. If you are constantly being jumped, constantly being relied upon to restore, to listen, to lift without the other soul learning to draw their own power from God, you are not helping. You are enabling dependency. You are sustaining karmic theft. You are allowing your sacred storehouse of divine force to be emptied without replenishment. Do not let false compassion become silent consent to vibrational robbery. This does not mean you must harden. It does not mean you must cut ties with coldness or flee every person who carries burden. But it does mean this: become aware. Notice where your energy flows. Notice who leaves you full of God and who leaves you full of fog. Notice the patterns. Where there is guilt but no peace, entanglement but no evolution, fatigue but no joy, you are not in love. You are in karmic drain. And the first step to healing this is recognition. Say within yourself now, I am no one's battery. I am not here to be consumed. I am here to serve from overflow, not obligation. And let that be the beginning of untangling the threads that bind you. There comes a moment on the spiritual path so subtle, you may almost miss it, when the seeker must decide whether their compassion will become a channel for divine wisdom or a disguise for self-abandonment. This is the moment when the soul, no longer satisfied with quiet suffering, must choose clarity over confusion and courage over compliance. For too long, the sincere devotee may believe that endurance is holiness, that acceptance is virtue, that spiritual growth means absorbing more than is healthy and saying less than is true. But I say to you now, as your divine friend and guide, endurance without wisdom becomes spiritual erosion, and acceptance without boundaries becomes karma multiplied, not resolved. True courage is not the absence of love, it is the presence of God's order. It is the soul's willingness to uphold the sanctity of its own light. You have permission to protect your energy, not from hatred, not from arrogance, but from reverence. Your light is not casual. Your peace is not expendable. Your spiritual power is the result of countless lifetimes of prayer, penance, and purification. You have earned your stillness. You have watered it daily through meditation, nurtured it in the silence of your heart, and preserved it even when storms surrounded you. So why now, child of spirit, do you let that stillness be scattered by voices that do not honor it? Why now do you feel guilty for guarding your sanctuary from those who trample it unknowingly with the muddy feet of restlessness? The answer, perhaps, lies in a misunderstanding of love. Somewhere along the way, many have come to believe that love means self-sacrifice to the point of depletion, that to be kind is to be porous, that to be spiritual is to be boundaryless. But this is not divine love. This is human confusion. Divine love, as Yogananda taught, is not soft weakness, it is radiant strength. It flows from the soul, not the personality. It elevates both giver and receiver. It does not ask one to lose their light to make others comfortable in the dark. Even the Lord, in his infinite compassion, did not give himself indiscriminately. The Gita reveals that God responds to the devotee in proportion to their sincerity. Christ too withdrew. He did not preach every hour. He did not open his heart to every passerby. He entered the mountain, he sailed across the lake. He rested. He prayed alone. He honored the rhythm of divine exchange. And I too, though surrounded by students, would sometimes close my door, fast in silence, gaze inward, and guard the flame. Not from resentment, but from wisdom. For what is poured out too constantly loses its strength, and what is not renewed at the source becomes diluted. So, understand this spiritual law. You do not owe your energy to every soul who asks for it. You do not owe your time to every voice that calls. You do not owe your peace to every relationship that demands it. Your primary vow is to God, not to pleasing others. And when you protect your energy, you are not withholding love, you are upholding the law of divine flow. Only when the chalice is full can it pour. Only when the lamp is lit can it guide. The soul cannot serve its divine mission if it is constantly drained by worldly attachments disguised as spiritual service. Do not fear being misunderstood. Do not fear disappointing those who expect your constant availability. You are not here to maintain illusions. You are here to honor truth. And truth, beloved, sometimes whispers, step back, say no, be still, protect your light. This is not unkindness. It is obedience to the divine within. Say within yourself now, I have permission to protect what is sacred in me. I do not abandon others by honoring my own light. I liberate them by showing what divine order looks like. And let those words take root in your heart, for they are not yours alone, they are God's decree spoken through the temple of your realization. There is a sacred power in the human voice, a subtle energy that flows not only in the meaning of words, but in the vibration that carries them. It is not what is said that affects the soul, it is how it is said, where it is said from, and the hidden energy behind it that either elevates or exhausts the listener. And so it is with speech and listening, the two most underestimated portals of spiritual depletion. People think of energy loss in terms of action, effort, or emotional outburst, but the soul is often drained through the unseen mechanics of sound. Through careless talking, through restless listening, through conversations devoid of God remembrance. The tongue, if undisciplined, becomes a thief of spiritual power. And the ears, if left unguarded, become the entry point for energies that never belong to you. Let me begin with speech. Yogananda often warned, speak less, speak sweetly, speak truthfully. Why? Because every word carries astral charge. Each syllable you utter is propelled by subtle pranic force. When you speak mindlessly, engaging in complaint, gossip, judgment, sarcasm, you are not merely expressing ideas, you are leaking power. The energy built through meditation, the peace you generated through Kriya, the silence you cultivated in devotion, all of it is dispersed, often irretrievably, through meaningless sound. Not because God is offended, but because vibration follows law. The speech that lacks divine alignment drags energy downward through the spine. Your words, when empty of light, invite low-frequency resonance into your field, and worse, into the fields of others. This karmic entanglement binds the speaker and the listener alike. But what is spoken is only half the gate. The other, and often more dangerous path, is listening. People often assume that to remain silent while others speak is a form of spiritual neutrality. But this is false. Listening is not passive. It is participatory. When you listen, you absorb. You open the energetic door of your being and allow in the vibration of the other. If they are speaking from fear, you receive fear. If they are venting bitterness, you absorb the bitter tone. If they are immersed in complaint, in judgment, in worldly anxiety, you, unless vigilant, will carry it home in your aura. You may sit for hours wondering why your peace is disturbed, why your heart feels unsettled, why your focus in meditation is scattered, and the cause may be that you lent your inner temple to someone else's restlessness. Without boundaries, even silence becomes a channel for depletion. This is why I taught my disciples to guard their ears as carefully as their lips. The world is full of noise, and not just outer sound, but astral dissonance, mental chatter, emotional turbulence dressed up as conversation. And if you do not choose what you receive, you will inherit energies that were never yours to bear. Many a sincere seeker has lost their inner light not through sin, but through saturation. They were open to everyone, listening to everything, absorbing without discernment, and so they dimmed. Now hear this truth and let it reshape your practice. Your ears are gates to the soul, and your words are rivers of light or shadow. You must learn to sanctify both. When you speak, ask, will this bless the listener? Will this uplift vibration? If not, be still. Let your silence become a prayer. And when you listen, ask, is this worthy of my energy? Will this conversation keep me anchored in God? If not, withdraw, not rudely, not coldly, but with inner grace. Protect your field. I am not asking you to become distant or closed. I am asking you to become sovereign. Choose the words you allow in. Choose the frequencies you allow to circulate through your sacred vessel. For what you speak, you become, and what you listen to, you begin to carry. So from this day forward, let your speech be a form of devotion. Let your listening be a form of prayer. When someone speaks to you from fear, offer silent within. When someone seeks to gossip, meet them with gentle truth or holy quiet. When you are tempted to speak from unrest, place your awareness at the spiritual eye, breathe deeply, and let the words return to God before they leave your mouth. Say this affirmation now. I do not speak from reaction. I do not listen without purpose. My voice is a channel of peace. My ears are the gateway of God. And may your vibration rise with each sound you choose to share or shield. There is a sacred art to spiritual self-protection, not in the form of emotional retaliation or cold avoidance, but in the conscious, compassionate orchestration of your energy and presence. When you find yourself in the presence of one who unknowingly drains you on, whose vibration tugs downward on your peace, whose words fracture your inner silence, whose eyes carry hunger instead of harmony, you do not need to react in fear, nor withdraw in anger. You do not need to prove anything, defend anything, or explain anything. Instead, I will give you now 3 divinely sanctioned responses, each aligned with the eternal teachings I have given in truth, each capable of preserving your light without entangling your karma. Remember this: spiritual response is not weakness, it is mastery. It is the poised action of a soul that has remembered its sovereignty in God. Response 1. Retreat with kindness. Yes, you may leave. Yes, you may step back. Yes, you may choose solitude over sacrificial presence. There is no obligation written in the law of divine love that requires you to stay in draining company. Yogananda taught that environment is stronger than willpower, and that the wise soul must choose environments that support, not sabotage, their God, remembrance. When you sense your light being siphoned, your heart contracting, your spiritual gaze turning inward in pain rather than outward in radiance, retreat. Not with hostility, not with abruptness, but with grace, with an inward smile, with the quiet dignity of one who knows that preservation is not selfishness, but sacred discipline. You may excuse yourself from the conversation. You may reduce contact with those who consistently leave you exhausted. You may walk away not from the soul, but from the energy that clouds your own. This is not rejection, it is redirection, and it is holy. Response 2. Silently chant while they speak. There will be moments when retreat is not possible: family obligations, workplace interactions, moments when love asks you to stay physically present, though spiritually protected. In such moments, do not panic. Do not absorb. Do not close your heart. Instead, shift your awareness inward. Bring your attention gently to the spiritual eye. Without moving your lips, without outward display, begin to chant within your soul. Let the vibration of the cosmic sound create a shield around your being. Imagine the syllable as a sphere of golden light, wrapping your aura in divine sound, transmuting the energy that enters and reinforcing the frequency you emit. This practice, done sincerely, transforms you from a sponge into a transmitter. Their words will pass through you without lodging. Their unrest will fail to attach. Your silence, fortified with will become a vibration too high to be disturbed, and you will leave the encounter not drained, but steady, still, shining. Response 3. Speak truth from the spiritual eye, not from emotion. Sometimes, a word must be spoken, not to retaliate, but to reset the atmosphere, not to shame the other, but to anchor yourself in God. When the moment arises when gossip floods the space, when fear hijacks the conversation, when drama seeks to sweep you into its karmic current, you may speak. But do not speak from reaction. Do not speak from offense. Anchor yourself first. Bring your attention to the point between the eyebrows, the seat of divine will. Let your gaze rise inward. Breathe slowly. Then speak not with volume, but with vibration. Say the word that aligns with clarity. Let's focus on peace. I'd like to shift the topic. Let's pause for a moment of silence. Or even, simply, I need some time to recharge. These are not defenses, they are declarations. Each one spoken from the spiritual eye cuts through the fog and realigns the field. You are not attacking, you are elevating. These three responses are not techniques, they are spiritual tools. They allow you to remain in the world, but not of its unrest. They preserve your energy without creating more karma. And they honor the truth that you are not here to carry everyone's vibration. You are here to radiate God's vibration and to protect the conditions in which that radiance can be sustained. So I say to you now, let your boundaries be a form of prayer. Let your retreat be a gesture of wisdom. Let your silence carry the cosmic sound. Let your speech be guided by the divine gaze within. In this way, you serve not just yourself but the world. For what the world needs is not more reaction but more radiant souls who walk in the strength of quiet truth. Your aura is not just an artistic idea or a mystical glow seen by saints and seers. It is real, living, magnetic, a fluid radiance shaped by your thoughts, your breath, your devotion, and your karmic inheritance. It is the invisible skin of your spiritual body, the subtle atmosphere surrounding your form that either invites light or absorbs shadow. And though few see it with physical eyes, all feel it. You have felt it. You have stepped near those who made your spine rise in peace, and others who made your heart retract into caution. That is aura at work. It communicates before words, transmits before action, and receives long before the intellect can interpret what is happening. And herein lies your next great secret. Your aura can become armor. Not armor made of tension or resistance, but of stillness and sanctity. A living shield formed not from fear, but from divine presence. Yogananda taught that the spiritual warrior is not one who fights the world, but one who masters their inner atmosphere. It is not how many battles you win externally that defines your strength, but how untouchable your peace remains when unrest swirls around you. This invincibility is not achieved by withdrawal alone. It is attained through the conscious construction of your energetic field. And how is this built? Not by forcing, not by pretending, but by dwelling again and again in the silence of God. Stillness is the foundation of energetic immunity. When the mind is still, the breath slows. When the breath slows, the life force rises. When the life force rises, it concentrates in the higher centers. And when energy is anchored at the spiritual eye and in the heart pure, unshaken, expansive, the aura becomes luminous, impenetrable, radiant with divine certainty. In this state, you do not have to protect yourself from others. Others cannot disturb you. Their anxiety may come near, but it will not enter. Their anger may flash, but it will not stick. Their chaos may swirl, but it cannot penetrate. You have become like the mirror, reflecting everything, absorbing nothing, or like polished glass, clear, still, untouched. This is not merely poetry, it is yogic law. The one who dwells in God regularly, who bathes their consciousness in mantra, breath, and silence, who lives not at the surface of emotion but at the depth of soul, builds an aura that no darkness can breach. That aura is not hard, it is luminous. It is not defensive, it is commanding. It carries within it the vibration of truth, and truth needs no resistance. It simply is. This is the real protection, not isolation, but saturation in spirit. You ask how to achieve this practically. I will tell you. Begin each day with deep, intentional silence. Before you speak to the world, speak to God. Before you look outward, turn the gaze within. Practice your meditation not as routine but as alchemy. See each Kriya breath as polishing the mirror of your aura, removing the stains of yesterday's interactions. Chant Om not quickly, not lightly but with reverence, allowing its vibration to pulse through your field. Imagine it as a golden mist filling every layer of your subtle body, rising from the spine outward, forming a luminous cocoon of holy sound. Throughout the day, check your field. Ask yourself not, what am I doing? But, where is my energy? Is it scattered? Is it dull? Is it leaping outward to please or to prove? Or is it centered, poised, quietly ablaze? Let your posture reflect your inner protection. Stand tall, walk slowly, gaze from the spiritual eye, speak from stillness. When you do this, others will feel it. They may not understand it, but they will respond to it. Some will withdraw, for they cannot match that vibration. Others will be drawn to it, for it reminds them of something ancient and holy within themselves. And yes, there may still be attempts to pierce your peace. People will test your boundaries. Situations will pull on your light, but you will not fall. You will not react. You will not surrender your vibration for approval or survival. You will remain a still sun at the center of your own sky. Say now within yourself, my aura is a temple. My silence is my shield. My stillness is my power. No one enters who does not carry light. And let this become your mantra, not of exclusion, but of elevation. You are not here to defend. You are here to dwell in the atmosphere of God so fully that even shadows turn to light in your presence. It is a noble instinct, this longing to uplift others, this sacred desire to carry the burden of a friend, to ease the suffering of those who struggle, to pour light into the hearts that have forgotten their own radiance. It is the mark of an awakened soul to love deeply, to feel the ache of others as though it were your own. But here is the paradox, beloved. If you do not understand the laws of divine energy, if you do not root your giving in God, if you try to rescue others while drowning in your own depletion, you will not save them. You will lose yourself. And in losing yourself, you will lose your peace, your clarity, your joy, and eventually, your ability to help anyone at all. The world is full of seekers who mistake exhaustion for compassion. They confuse boundarylessness with unconditional love. They wear their fatigue like a badge of sacrifice, believing that the more they hurt, the more they help. But this is not Christ's path. This is not Krishna's teaching. This is not what I came to offer you. Divine service is not martyrdom. True love does not ask you to bleed so that others may drink. It asks you to shine so that others may remember their own inner flame. Even now, there may be someone in your life you are trying to carry, a friend, a partner, a parent, a child whose pain has become your project, whose chaos seems to pull you deeper every time you try to lift them. You speak light to them, but they respond with complaint. You offer clarity, but they anchor in confusion. You show up again and again, giving your time, your care, your devotion, and yet you feel like a vessel emptied, again and again, with nothing poured back into you except guilt. And here is the lesson you must hear with the soul's ear. You are not God. You are not here to be the source of anyone's healing. You are not here to fix, to convince, to rescue, or to carry anyone to liberation on your back. You are here to walk with God, to stay centered in your own light, to remain rooted in your own divine communion. And from that overflow you may give, not from obligation, not from depletion, but from presence, from wholeness, from truth. Think of the sun. It does not follow the flowers. It does not chase the shadows. It simply shines from its center, unwavering. And in that steady radiance, life awakens. The frozen thaw, the lost return, the dead rise. You too must become like that steady, whole, rooted in God. If someone in your life cannot yet receive your light without draining you, it is not time to pour more. It is time to step back and return to your own source. And if guilt arises, let it pass. If they accuse you of being cold, let them speak. You must no longer compromise your center to meet others in their storm. That is not love. That is karmic repetition. Yogananda said, "You help others not by becoming weak with them, but by remaining strong in God." If your spiritual practice, your peace, your health, your joy are being compromised in the name of helping others, it is time to return to this truth. You do not help others by joining their suffering. You help them by elevating your own vibration and holding it, not forcing, not persuading, but becoming a lighthouse. Lighthouses do not walk into the sea. They stand firm. They remain anchored. And by that very stillness, they save ships from wreckage. Say this within yourself now. I let go of the belief that I must hurt in order to help. I serve best when I stand in God. I do not lose myself to lift others, I rise. And in rising, I show the way. These are not just words. They are a vow, a release, a return to the divine intelligence that placed you here, not as a sponge, not as a crutch, but as a soul ablaze with the memory of its eternal light. Protect your flame. Not everyone is meant to be warmed by it. Some must first learn to kindle their own. And you, precious child of God, must learn that love does not mean self-erasure. It means presence. It means truth. It means radiance without depletion. You are not here to disappear. You are here to shine. Spiritual energy, like a sacred flame, must be tended daily. It is not enough to know that you are a soul. It is not enough to recognize when your light has been dimmed. You must rise each day with the devotion of a priest preparing the inner altar, conscious that the world will try, whether intentionally or unconsciously, to draw from your reservoir of peace. And so you must begin, not with reaction, but with preparation. Do not step into the day clothed only in thought. Clothe yourself first in vibration. Cloak yourself in light. I will now give you practice small in time, great in power that, if done consistently, will seal your aura, restore your center, and return your energy field to its natural radiance. These are not complex rituals. They are divine rhythms, sacred routines that align your soul with spirit and teach the world through your presence what it means to be untouchable in God. Practice 1. Morning Om chants at the spiritual eye. Before the world speaks to you, let your soul speak to God. As soon as you rise, before checking a device, before entering conversation, sit upright. Close your eyes. Lift your gaze gently to the point between the eyebrows. With each breath, intone silently or softly aloud, Om, Om, Om. Feel the vibration not just as a sound, but as a current. Let it pulse outward from the spiritual eye, forming concentric rings of divine energy around you. Visualize your aura expanding, becoming golden, untouchable, luminous. This chant is not a mantra only, it is a seal. It instructs the universe. This soul belongs to the infinite. No lesser vibration may enter here. Do this for 3 minutes each morning. If you are faithful, you will notice that situations that once rattled you will now pass like wind around a mountain. You will feel less need to defend, to prove, to explain. Your energy will carry the authority of alignment, and alignment needs no armor. Practice 2. Evening release mantra. I send back what is not mine. At the close of the day, your aura is like a cloak that has touched many surfaces. You have absorbed glances, tones, stray thoughts, even collective vibrations from places and people. Do not carry this into sleep. Sit quietly before retiring. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and as you exhale, repeat slowly, I send back what is not mine. I release what does not serve. I reclaim all energy tied to my soul. I rest in divine peace. With each phrase, feel your energy field clearing. Picture cords dissolving. Visualize heaviness sliding off like layers of old garments. You are not rejecting anyone. You are simply restoring your vibrational purity. You are not running from the world. You are returning to the divine within. Even 5 minutes of this practice can transform your rest. Your sleep will become not just physical renewal, but astral recharging. You will awaken not foggy, but fresh, not burdened, but buoyant. Practice 3. Journaling to convert drain into awareness. There is a reason some interactions leave you unclear. Without reflection, energy becomes emotion, and emotion becomes confusion. Journaling is not merely writing, it is extraction. It is the process of pulling foreign vibration out of your field and into form, where it can be witnessed and released. After any interaction that leaves you unsettled, sit quietly with your journal. Ask, what did I feel in my body during that conversation? What thought lingered afterward? What part of me gave away power? What truth did I silence? As you write, do not edit. Let the page catch what your mind resists. Often, the act of expression alone clears the fog. But more than that, it teaches you patterns. You will begin to see where your light is most vulnerable, where your voice must strengthen, where your spiritual hygiene must sharpen. And let me give you this. Do not turn journaling into analysis. Use it as a doorway into prayer. After writing, offer it all into the flame of divine consciousness. Mentally burn the page in your inner temple. Say, I release this into thee. Make me new again. This is not therapy. This is surrender. Daily practice is not discipline alone. It is love. It is the way a soul says to God, I remember who I am, and I am willing to maintain this remembrance. You do not wait until you are drained to act. You act so you do not become drained. You speak to God before the world speaks to you. You cleanse before the weight collects. You return to center not once a week, not when crisis demands, but every day, as the breath returns to the lungs, as the sun returns to the sky. Say this within yourself now. Each morning I rise in truth. Each evening I release the world. Each moment I am charged by God, not consumed by others. And let this become your rhythm. For it is not enough to shine once you must learn to shine daily, joyfully, wisely, until your radiance becomes not an effort, but your eternal signature. You were not born to ask for permission to be divine. You were not sent here to dim your light so that others might feel more comfortable in their shadows. You were not created by the infinite to tiptoe through life as if your power was something to apologize for. No, beloved soul. You came here to shine not arrogantly, not loudly, but completely. You came here to radiate a light so steady, so anchored in God, that even the darkness must pause and remember its origin. But this world will not always celebrate your radiance. Some will feel threatened by it. Others will misunderstand it. Some will try to diminish it with their expectations, their guilt, their projections, their pain. They will say you are too much, too quiet, too distant, too strange. But you must remember, you are not here to fit into their mold, you are here to break it. You are not here to seek their approval, you are here to reflect God's presence. When others drain you, often it is because they see in you something they have not yet remembered in themselves. Your peace unsettles their chaos. Your clarity challenges their confusion. Your silence exposes the noise they carry within. But that is not your burden to carry. That is not your responsibility to fix. You are not the keeper of their awakening. You are the steward of your own. And that awakening shines through you not as a performance, not as superiority, but as inevitability. Like a sun that does not seek permission from the sky, you rise again and again not because you are trying to be seen, but because it is your nature. And so I say to you now, with the full authority of divine remembrance, you do not need to shrink. You do not need to soften your voice of truth. You do not need to bend your spine to fit through doors not meant for your stature. If your light makes others uncomfortable, let it. If your boundaries are called selfish, let them be misunderstood. If your silence is called cold, let them wonder. You answer not to the voices around you, you answer to the still, clear call of God within. Let this now be your final decree. Say it aloud if you can. Whisper it with your breath if you must. Etch it into the center of your consciousness where no confusion can reach. I belong to God alone. My light is not for consumption. My soul is not a sponge. I am here to radiate, not to shrink. Let those words become your armor. Let them be your permission slip from the universe. Let them be the breath you take before every interaction, the echo in your spine when others seek to pull you down, the truth you return to when fatigue tempts you to compromise. Not everyone deserves your energy, but all deserve your prayers. So bless them in silence. Walk away in peace. Chant Om in your heart as you release them from the invisible expectation that you must rescue, explain, or absorb. You are not a vessel for endless reaction. You are a conduit of divine stillness. You are not a lighthouse in training, you already are the light. And if ever you forget, return here. Return to this sacred knowing. Close your eyes. Lift your gaze. Feel the current of your breath. Remember the flame within your spine. And say, gently, with full authority, I am the breath of God. I am the light of God. I am here to shine, and I shine without fear. The world needs your light not dimmed, not distorted, not postponed. Let them feel the radiance that costs you nothing, because it is not yours. It is His, and He shines through you endlessly. Beloved, I ask you now to open your heart and mind to a profound truth that many live their entire lives without fully realizing. Your family, your parents, your children, these are not mere accidents of birth or random encounters in the vastness of life. Rather, they are sacred appointments, soul choices, divinely timed and orchestrated by the unseen hand of God to guide your journey toward awakening. Consider the tapestry of your life, woven not by chance but by design, each thread, each relationship placed with perfect intention, even when the pattern is not yet clear to your eyes. Imagine, if you will, the stars in the night sky, each moving in its own path, yet together forming constellations whose beauty and meaning have inspired countless souls through the ages. Your family is like such a constellation, souls arranged in a divine dance, converging at the perfect moment to support each other's growth and spiritual evolution. The connections you feel, the bonds of love or the tensions of challenge, all arise from this sacred cosmic choreography. This knowledge is both a shock and a comfort, a shock because it shatters the illusion that your life's most intimate relationships are accidental or meaningless. A comfort because it reveals that even in pain or confusion, there is a divine purpose. Your parents were not chosen by fate alone. Your children are not simply chance blessings or burdens. They are fellow travelers with whom your soul has journeyed before and will journey again. To see this meaning fully, beloved, you must learn to look beyond the veil of this life, beyond the surface appearance of birth and family roles, and enter the deeper realms where the soul remembers its intentions before incarnation. It is there, in the vast memory of the eternal self, that the purpose of your familial bonds is written, and it is there that we will now go together. Beloved, before you took your first breath in this life, your soul existed in a realm of pure light and infinite freedom, a place beyond time and space, where all things are known and all possibilities lie open. In that sacred space, the souls who would become your parents and children gathered with you, not by accident or whim, but by conscious agreement. They chose one another, knowing the lessons to be learned, the love to be shared, and the healing to be done. Imagine a troupe of actors, standing backstage before the play begins. Each has read the script, each understands their role, and all have agreed to the story that will unfold. The stage is set, the lights prepared, and the performance will begin in perfect order. Just as the actors have chosen their parts to bring the drama to life, so too have your soul and the souls of your family chosen their roles, for this incarnation roles that weave together to form the complex, beautiful tapestry of your shared journey. Or picture seeds carefully selected for a particular garden, each placed in the soil best suited to its growth. These seeds may germinate at different times, face different weather, and bloom in their own season. Yet all are part of the gardener's plan to create a harmonious and thriving whole. Your familial souls are such seeds, planted with love and purpose to support the flowering of each other's spirit. This knowledge brings comfort to those who have suffered in family relationships, and hope to those who face challenges in parenting or being parented. It is not a cruel fate to be born into difficulty, but a sacred opportunity chosen by the soul to balance debts, to heal old wounds, and to advance on the path toward divine union. So I tell you now, beloved, that your life is a sacred plan written by your own soul and those who share its journey. You did not come here unprepared or alone. Before the curtain rose on this life, your family relationships were set in motion by the eternal wisdom that governs all. And with this knowledge, you can begin to see the difficulties and joys of your family not as random events, but as chapters in a divine story written with love and infinite care. Beloved, the illusion that veils this sacred design is known as Maya, the great obscurer that distorts the soul's vision and causes the heart to suffer in ignorance. From the standpoint of worldly perspective, family ties may seem tangled in confusion, marred by misunderstanding, or clouded by pain. You may wonder how such divine choices could lead to suffering, or why love so often coexists with challenge. This is Maya's work, to make the soul forget the eternal purpose and see only the shifting forms and fleeting emotions. Imagine standing upon a mist-covered mountain. The fog conceals the breathtaking landscape below and the clear sky above. Your sight is limited to the few steps before you, and the path seems uncertain, even dangerous. Yet if you ascend beyond the mist, the panorama unfolds in all its glory, rivers sparkling in the sunlight, valleys green with life, peaks reaching toward the heavens. So too, the veil of Maya hides the deeper reality of family connections. The trials you face now may obscure the love and spiritual opportunity woven through your relationships, but this does not diminish their true nature. Or picture a cracked mirror reflecting the world outside. The fractures distort the image, creating broken and confusing shapes. Yet beneath the cracks lies the perfect glass, undiminished and whole. When you begin to see beyond the surface distortions of family life, when you look past the shadows of anger, fear, and sorrow, you begin to glimpse the soul's pure reflection in each other. This unmasking is gentle but necessary. It calls you to recognize that pain in family relationships is not proof of divine neglect or cruelty, but evidence of the soul's work in progress. The challenges are the sacred lessons, the opportunities to awaken love where there was division, forgiveness where there was resentment, and compassion where there was judgment. When the veil lifts, even if only for a moment, You see your parents and children not as perfect or imperfect beings, but as beloved souls, each carrying their own burdens and blessings, walking their own path toward God. And in that vision, the energy of your relationships shifts from struggle to understanding, from blame to gratitude, from separation to reunion. Beloved, may this lifting of the veil be the dawn of a new day in your family life, where love's true purpose is revealed, and every interaction becomes a step toward the divine harmony that awaits all who choose to remember. Beloved, hidden beneath the surface of every family relationship lies a profound curriculum designed by the divine, a curriculum not dictated by the fleeting whims of the mind, but by the eternal laws of karma and soul evolution. This hidden syllabus is unique to you and your kin, tailored precisely to the lessons your souls must learn together for growth and awakening. Each challenge, each moment of joy, each trial and triumph is a sacred lesson in patience, forgiveness, humility, and unconditional love. Imagine a school unlike any other, where the classrooms are the rooms of your home, the lessons unfold in conversations and shared experiences, and the teachers are none other than your parents, children, and loved ones. This school does not offer diplomas or worldly accolades, but something far greater: the refining of the soul's character, the awakening of divine qualities that transcend all temporal concerns. Your family is the sacred place where these lessons come alive, where the soul is tested and purified, where the spark of God within you is fanned into a steady flame. Picture two blacksmiths working the same piece of iron. They take turns hammering and shaping, each blow a precise movement intended to bring forth strength and beauty. The metal endures the heat and the hammer strike, but with each shaping it grows stronger, more refined, more capable of serving its sacred purpose. So it is with family life: the interactions, the frictions, the reconciliations, and the acts of kindness are the tools that shape the soul's inner metal. Without these encounters, the soul's growth would be incomplete. This understanding transforms frustration and suffering into sacred curiosity. Instead of asking, "Why must this happen to me?" or "Why do we clash so often?" you begin to ask, "What is this teaching me? How is my soul being refined? What love must I cultivate now to grow beyond this challenge?" This shift of perspective opens the heart and softens the mind, inviting grace to enter where resistance once held sway. Beloved, every challenge in family life is a call to awaken love, not the love of the sentimental heart, but the divine love that is patient, forgiving, steadfast, and free. When you embrace this call, your family becomes a living sanctuary, a place where the light of the soul can shine through every shadow, illuminating the path to liberation for all who dwell within it. Beloved, there is a profound joy and sacred responsibility woven into the very fabric of the soul's choice to enter family life as it does. To choose your parents and children before birth is to step willingly into a divine partnership, a shared pilgrimage toward awakening that requires both courage and gratitude. This choice is a gift, a blessing, and a trust placed upon your soul to walk the path of growth alongside others who have agreed to journey with you through the cycles of life and death, learning and love. Imagine pilgrims ascending a mountain trail together. Each carries their own burdens, moves at their own pace, and faces their own trials. Yet they share a single purpose and a mutual commitment to reach the summit. They support each other, sometimes carrying each other's loads, sometimes encouraging a faltering step, sometimes simply walking in companionable silence. Such is the relationship you have chosen with your family. It is not always easy. The mountain is steep, the air thin, and the path uncertain, but the shared goal sanctifies every step and fills every breath with meaning. Consider also the collaboration of artists creating a masterpiece. Each brushstroke, each color chosen, each subtle blending is essential to the whole. Sometimes the process is harmonious, flowing effortlessly. Other times it is fraught with frustration and second-guessing. Yet the artists persist, knowing that their combined effort will produce a work far greater than any one hand could achieve alone. Your family is such a masterpiece in progress, shaped by the hands of many souls and guided by the divine artist's vision. This sacred choice to enter family life calls you to embrace both joy and responsibility. Joy in the shared moments of laughter, tenderness, and connection that uplift the spirit and remind you of the eternal love binding you. Responsibility in the commitment to serve one another's growth, to face difficulties with patience, and to forgive freely as the divine forgives. This conscious embrace turns family from a mere circumstance into a sacred school, a temple of transformation, and a home of the soul's deepest fulfillment. Beloved, now that you have seen the beauty and weight of this divine choice, we turn to how you may walk this path with grace each day. The journey of family life is made sacred not by the grand gestures but by the small, consistent acts of prayer, meditation, and mindful love that knit your souls ever closer to God and to each other. Let us explore these spiritual practices together. Beloved, the sacred journey of family life requires daily tending like a cherished garden that flourishes not by chance, but by the care and devotion poured into each leaf and petal. Spiritual practices offer the soil, water, and sunlight for your relationships, transforming karmic entanglements into blessings of love, peace, and growth. These practices invite you and your family to unite in a higher consciousness that transcends the limitations of the body and mind, aligning your shared life with the divine will. Begin with prayer, a simple but powerful act of turning your hearts together toward God. Prayer need not be elaborate. It can be a quiet moment in the morning or evening where you join your hands and voices, either aloud or in silence, to offer gratitude for one another and invoke the light of divine love to fill your home. This shared act creates a sacred space, a living altar where the bonds of karma can be softened and healed. Imagine two rivers, once separate and rushing in their own directions, merging to flow as one powerful stream. So too does your prayer unite your souls in a current of grace. Meditation is another pillar of harmony. Set aside a few minutes daily to sit together or individually in stillness, focusing on the breath and lifting the gaze inward to the spiritual eye. In this quiet sanctuary, the restless waves of past grievances and future worries calm, and the soul's true essence comes into focus. Meditation cleanses the heart soil, making it fertile for forgiveness, understanding, and unconditional love. It is like tending a garden's earth, turning, loosening, nourishing so that the seeds of divine qualities may take root and flourish. Mindful love is the practice of carrying awareness into every interaction, speaking with kindness, listening deeply, and acting with patience. It means seeing beyond the surface actions to the soul behind them, recognizing that each family member is on their own path of growth. When frustration arises, mindful love asks you to pause, breathe, and respond from the heart rather than the ego. It is a gentle gardener pruning away the weeds of reaction to make space for the flowers of compassion. Together, these practices are the tools by which you transform your family life from karmic obligation into a divine blessing. They do not erase challenges but invite you to meet them with courage and grace. As you and your loved ones engage in these spiritual disciplines, you cultivate a shared vibration that lifts you all higher, weaving your souls into a tapestry radiant with the light of God. Beloved, having prepared this sacred foundation, we now turn to a deeper vision, seeing your parents, your children, and yourself not merely as human roles but as eternal souls journeying together. This shift in perception will open your heart to boundless love and understanding beyond the limits of form. Beloved, to journey consciously with your family, you must learn to see beyond the temporary masks of personality, the shifting roles and behaviors that the world so often mistakes for the whole truth. Your parents, your children, yourself, these are not merely bodies bound by time, nor are they the sum of their habits, temperaments, and histories. At the deepest level, each of you is an eternal soul, a spark of the divine light, clothed in form for a season, yet untouched by its fleeting dramas. Imagine the sun shining through many different windows in a great house. Each window is unique in shape, size, and color, casting distinct patterns of light and shadow upon the floors. Yet the sun itself is one, unchanging, radiant, and whole. So it is with the soul shining through the myriad forms of family members. When you look only at the window, the personality, the role, the behaviors, you see only the partial light, fragmented and colored by circumstances. But when you look through the window to the sun itself, you recognize the unity that underlies all diversity. Or picture a grand play, performed on an immense stage. Each actor wears a costume and plays a part: a mother, a father, a child, with lines and actions suited to the story. But when the curtain falls, the costumes come off. The roles are laid aside, and the actors stand as themselves, free from the masks they wore. In the same way, family life is a drama in which the soul learns through the experience of role-playing, yet the soul itself remains untouched, eternal, and free. To live as souls rather than roles means cultivating a vision that pierces the surface. It means listening deeply to the heart behind every word, seeing the light behind every shadow, and responding with a compassion born of this recognition. It asks you to forgive not only the mistakes, but the very limitations of form, to love not only the pleasant but the difficult expressions of the soul. This is not an easy task, for the ego resists surrender and clings to its judgments. But it is the path of liberation, the way by which family relationships become vessels of grace rather than cages of frustration. When you begin to live in this awareness, beloved, your interactions transform. Conflicts soften into conversations. Disappointments give way to understanding. Distance melts into closeness. The roles you play remain, but they are now worn lightly, like garments donned for a purpose and removed with gratitude at day's end. And as you see your family members as eternal souls, you yourself begin to step more fully into your own soul's light, for the reflection you meet is the mirror in which your own divinity is revealed. Beloved, from this vision of soul consciousness arises a fertile ground for love, a love that is patient, forgiving, and boundless. And so we turn now to the blessings that flow from embracing your family as sacred partners on the soul's journey, where peace, joy, and spiritual growth flourish in the shared light. Beloved, when you embrace the vision of family as a sacred gathering of souls journeying together toward God, a profound blessing unfolds within your heart and home. Peace arises as the first flower of this awakening, a peace that is not dependent on the absence of conflict, but rooted deeply in the awareness of divine presence amidst every circumstance. It is the calm river flowing beneath the turbulent surface, steady and sure, carrying you through every trial and joy alike. Consider a river that has carved its path through mountains and valleys, flowing endlessly toward the ocean. Though the waters may roar in rapids and whisper in gentle pools, the river's course is steadfast, its purpose clear. So too is the peace born of conscious family. Love it persists through seasons of change, holding you and your loved ones in the steady embrace of spiritual truth. This peace calms the storms of anger, dissolves the fog of misunderstanding, and softens the edges of every hurt. Alongside peace blooms forgiveness, the sacred balm that heals old wounds and mends broken hearts. Forgiveness is not weakness. It is the strength to release the burden of resentment, to see beyond the faults and failings of those you love to the eternal soul within. When forgiveness becomes a shared practice in family life, it transforms the atmosphere into a sanctuary where love can grow unhindered by past hurts. Like rain nourishing thirsty earth, forgiveness refreshes relationships and prepares the ground for new growth. Joy is another fruit of conscious family love, a joy that arises not from circumstances, but from the recognition of your shared divine nature. It is the laughter that bubbles up unexpectedly in simple moments, the quiet delight in a kind word or a loving glance, the deep satisfaction of walking the spiritual path together. This joy is a light that radiates beyond the home, touching all who come near and inspiring them to remember their own divine bonds. Spiritual growth is the harvest of these blessings. As family members support each other in prayer, meditation, and service, each soul unfolds more fully. You become witnesses and companions on each other's path, encouraging surrender, deepening faith, and sharing the fruits of realization. This mutual awakening transforms family life from a source of burden into a wellspring of grace. These blessings, beloved, are not distant ideals, but present possibilities. They arise naturally as you open your heart to see family not as mere accident or obligation, but as a sacred trust and a divine gift. And so, as we move forward, let us consider how to carry this sacred awareness into every day, living with intention and love that weave your family into a living temple of the soul's highest purpose. Beloved, the true power of this sacred awareness is revealed not only in moments of meditation or insight, but in the unfolding of everyday life in the quiet rituals, the small gestures, the steady presence you offer to those you love. To integrate the divine purpose of family into daily living is to carry a lamp through the corridors of time, lighting each step with conscious love and remembrance. This daily integration transforms ordinary moments into acts of devotion, weaving a seamless thread of sacredness through the fabric of your shared existence. Imagine a lamp placed upon a table in a dark room. Though the flame is small, it dispels the shadows and reveals the path before you. As the lamp burns steadily, the room becomes a sanctuary of light, and each movement within it is guided by clarity and grace. So too is the spiritual awareness you bring to family life, a humble yet powerful presence that dissolves confusion, softens conflict, and invites harmony. Consider the steady footsteps of a pilgrim ascending a mountain path. Each step, deliberate and sure, draws them closer to the summit. The journey is not completed in a single stride, but in the accumulation of faithful steps taken with awareness and intention. In the same way, your conscious actions, a patient word, a forgiving thought, a quiet moment of gratitude become the steps that lead your family toward the summit of divine love. This means embracing the mundane as sacred. Washing dishes, preparing meals, sharing conversations, attending to each other's needs. These acts, when performed with the awareness of God's presence, become offerings on the altar of family life. The challenge is to sustain this awareness in the face of distractions, irritations, and the pull of the ego. Yet each time you return your attention to love, you water the roots of transformation and strengthen the bonds that unite your souls. Beloved, I urge you to hold this vision close and carry it forward with gentle determination. Let every interaction be touched by the light of remembrance, every difficulty met with the courage of the soul, every joy shared as a glimpse of heaven on earth. Through this daily living of divine purpose, your family becomes not only a reflection of God's love, but a wellspring from which others may drink and be nourished. And so, with hearts open and feet steady, we come now to seal this sacred teaching. We will offer a vow and a blessing, a consecration of your family life to the highest will of God, so that the divine plan you have glimpsed may continue to unfold with grace and power. Beloved, as we approach the close of this sacred exchange, I invite you to join me in a solemn vow, a consecration of your family relationships to the divine will, a conscious offering of the love, lessons, and life you share into the hands of God. This vow is not mere words spoken into the air, but a binding of your heart's intention with the eternal purpose that moves all souls toward unity, peace, and awakening. It is a sacred commitment that, once made, calls forth divine grace to uphold and sustain you through every season of your shared journey. Sit in stillness now, your breath calm, your body grounded, and your gaze softly lifted to the inner light, that radiant point between your eyebrows where your soul communes with the infinite. Feel the presence of God enfolding you and your family, a warm and steady embrace that has been with you since before time began. In this embrace, all divisions dissolve, all fears vanish, and only pure love remains. When you are ready, speak this vow inwardly or aloud with full presence. Beloved God, source of all life and love, I offer thee my family. I offer thee the ties that bind us, the lessons that challenge us, the joys that uplift us. May these relationships be sanctified by thy grace, purified of all shadows, and strengthened in thy light. Guide us to see each other as thy eternal children, to love unconditionally, to forgive freely, and to walk together on the path of awakening. May our union become a temple of thy presence, a beacon of peace in the world, and a source of boundless joy. Amen. Let these words echo within you, sinking deeply into your heart as a seed of sacred promise. Feel the peace and power that arise from committing your family to the divine's care and guidance. Know that this vow is not an end, but a beginning, the starting point of a new chapter, in which your familial bonds are transformed into vessels of divine love and light. Rest now in the silence that follows, letting the blessing of this moment enfold you. Carry this vow with you as a lamp that never dims, a compass that never falters, and a shield that guards your hearts. Wherever life's journey leads you and your family, may you walk together in the awareness of God's presence, supported by the eternal truth that you have chosen one another for a sacred purpose, and that purpose is love. Beloved, go forth in this blessing, radiant and renewed, a living testament to the divine plan that unites souls across lifetimes and leads them home. Do you know why the same pain keeps finding you in love? Why the ache returns wearing new faces, new names, new promises, and yet leads to the same silent sorrow, the same heart weighed down by confusion? It is not because you are broken. It is not because you are cursed. It is because you have forgotten who you truly are. You are not unlovable, but you are living in a world that teaches you to seek love as if it were something outside of you, as if it were a prize that must be earned or a validation that must be granted by another. And when you forget that the soul is already whole, already worthy, already a radiant spark of divine love itself, you begin to vibrate in lack. You begin to attract those who mirror your doubts rather than your divinity. You do not draw to you what you dream of. You draw what you silently believe you deserve. I say this to you with tenderness, not with judgment. The pain in love repeats not to punish you, but to awaken you. Each heartbreak is a mirror, and that mirror will keep showing you the same crack until you dare to look not at the other, but within. It is not about them. It is about the lesson your soul is still trying to complete. You think love is what you need to become whole. But in truth, wholeness is what you need to love rightly. Until you remember this, love will remain an aching echo, calling out from people who cannot stay, or from wounds disguised as destiny. But once you begin to reclaim your soul's radiance, once you stop asking others to complete you, once you look in the mirror and see not lack but God behind your eyes, then the cycle begins to dissolve. The great illusion is this: that someone else holds the key to your worth, that if they choose you, it proves something. But I tell you now, as one who has seen beyond the veil, no one can choose you in a way that matters until you choose yourself in the eyes of God. And when you do, you will find you no longer chase, you no longer cling, you no longer attract what breaks you. You become still, radiant, magnetic not to pain, but to peace. Say this now in the silence of your heart. I am not this wound. I am not this longing. I am the soul, loved eternally by God. Repeat it until the pain begins to melt. Repeat it until the pattern feels foreign. Repeat it until the mirror no longer shows a crack, but light. You are not unlovable. You are not forgotten. You are simply being called back to the divine center where love was never lost. Why is love the place where your deepest pain rises? Why is it, of all things, that the heart, so tender, so open, becomes the battlefield of the soul? Because love is not merely emotion. Love is the soul's mirror. And in no other classroom are we shown so clearly what we still fear, what we still cling to, what we still do not yet know of ourselves. You do not enter love just to be comforted. You enter it to be revealed. The universe is not cruel in this. It is precise. The ones who come into your life and cause your pain are not accidents. They are assignments. They are living vibrations sent to awaken something dormant in you. Sometimes they come to break your illusions. Sometimes they come to burn away your fantasies. And sometimes, most painfully, they come to echo the exact fear you've buried deep inside your ribs. I am not enough. I am not safe. I am not loved. But they do not create these fears. They expose them. And in that exposure, the soul is given its choice. Will you spiral back into the story of lack? Or will you rise in the fire and become fearless? To love consciously is the greatest act of courage on this earth. It is not for the faint of heart. It is not for those who worship comfort. It is for those who are willing to die, not physically, but egoically. In love, the ego is exposed, the inner child cries out, the karmic shadows rise, and still the soul is asked to remain, awake, open, unafraid. You ask why you keep attracting the same pain. I ask you, what fear have you still not faced? The soul has a magnet, and it vibrates with what is unhealed. If you fear abandonment, you will draw it. If you fear betrayal, it will find you. If you fear being unseen, love will place you beside someone who looks through you, until one day you stand before the mirror and no longer abandon yourself. That is the day the pattern begins to break. True courage is not walking away from love. It is staying with the soul through the process of being cracked open. It is saying, even if they leave, I will not leave myself. Even if this breaks, I remain whole. When you anchor your identity in God, no one can make or break your worth. You become like a mountain, still grounded, unmoved by storms. Say this now. I no longer fear love because I no longer fear myself. I no longer fear rejection because God has already accepted me. You will keep attracting pain until you become so fearless that even pain transforms in your presence. Let love be your sacred classroom. Let your courage be your diploma. And let the soul graduate not into protection, but into freedom. You ask, how do I stop attracting the same heartbreak, the same lessons in disguise, the same endings that leave me emptier than before? The answer, beloved, is not to run from love, not to build walls, not to harden yourself against the ache. The answer is this: you must change your frequency. For the soul does not attract by intention, it attracts by vibration. You cannot rise into a higher love while vibrating in the frequency of fear. You cannot draw peace while broadcasting lack. You cannot call in devotion while being ruled by abandonment. The universe does not respond to your desires. It responds to your energy. And your energy is shaped not by what you think, but by what you live. So how do you change it? Step 1. Stop seeking completion. The deepest hunger of the soul is to feel whole, but the greatest trap of the ego is to seek that wholeness in another. This seeking is not love, it is a longing disguised as romance, and so you draw those who echo your hunger, not your healing. When you chase love to feel enough, you call forth others who are also searching, not settled. And the dance begins. Need chasing need, fear kissing fear, two souls starving beside one another. You must stop trying to be completed. You must return to the inner altar, where the divine waits. Look not into the eyes of a lover to find God. Look into your own. Say to yourself every morning, you are already whole. You are not a half. You are the soul. When you stop chasing completion, you begin radiating peace, and peace is the most magnetic force in the universe. Step 2, identify the karmic lesson. Every recurring pattern contains a message. Every heartbreak has a root. The person who left you, what fear did they awaken? The one who betrayed you, what belief did they confirm? The one who could not see you, what wound did they reflect? Sit in stillness and ask, not with bitterness, but with reverence. What is the lesson that keeps knocking on the door of my heart? You may be surprised at what arises. A childhood moment, a forgotten vow, a deep unspoken belief. I am too much. I am not worthy. I must suffer to be loved. These are not truths. These are vibrational programs. And until you dissolve them in the fire of awareness, they will magnetize again and again. Action is transcendence. Awareness is liberation. When you act from a new vibration, when you say no to the old story, yes to self-respect, yes to boundaries, yes to divine alignment, you shift the current, and the universe must respond. Say now, I release the need to be completed. I recognize the pattern, and I rise above it. I choose to act not from fear, but from soul remembrance. The pattern breaks not when others change. It breaks when you rise. You were not created to beg for love. You were not born to chase it down like a fugitive in the night, to twist yourself into shapes that please, or shrink to fit the comfort of another's gaze. You were not sent here to wait for someone else to declare your worth. You were created to remember that you are love itself. You are not a cup waiting to be filled. You are the wellspring. When you remember this, something extraordinary happens. The magnetism of your being changes. You stop vibrating like a seeker and begin to radiate like a soul who knows. You no longer attract those who come to test your boundaries because your boundaries are no longer a question. You no longer feel drawn to those who cannot stay because your own presence has become so anchored in God that only peace feels familiar. True spiritual confidence is not arrogance. It is alignment. It is the deep knowing that your love is sacred because it comes from the divine, and therefore you do not offer it cheaply. You do not give it in exchange for crumbs of attention. You do not trade it for temporary warmth in the coldness of self-abandonment. You offer it as presence, not as a plea. So many suffer in love because they unconsciously reject the love they long for. They may say, I want to be cherished, but within them echoes a silent program. I am not worthy. And the universe, with perfect integrity, mirrors that vibration. This is not cruelty, it is law. And law can be changed, not by begging, but by embodiment. You must begin to speak differently to yourself. You must begin to look into your own eyes and see the soul, not the scar. You must stop rehearsing the language of lack. No one sees me. I always give too much. I don't know what's wrong with me. These are not your truths. These are karmic echoes. Replace them with sacred speech. Say aloud, I am already whole. My love is an offering, not a transaction. I no longer seek love to prove my worth. I give love because I am it. And then live it. Watch what changes. Spiritual confidence is silent and powerful. It does not perform. It does not prove. It does not need. It simply is. And from that energy, you will begin to attract only what reflects your truth. The old pain will not find a home in you because it no longer recognizes your frequency. You do not have to fear love anymore. You only need to stop fearing your own light, because that light is divine love remembering itself. The soul's transformation is not sealed in grand moments of revelation. It is anchored in quiet repetition, in the sacred rhythm of daily remembrance. If you wish to no longer attract the same pain in love, you must no longer live by the same rituals of forgetting. You must establish new patterns, daily acts of soul alignment, that rewire the very energy you send into the world. Painful relationships are born not only from outer circumstance, but from internal habits of thought, emotion, and expectation. You must become brave in stillness, brave in self-honesty, brave in choosing peace over pattern. Every day, life gives you the opportunity to act from fear or from truth. And every day you choose truth, the karmic web loosens. So how does the seeker practice this inner bravery? Practice 1. Morning mirror ritual. Before the world sees you, see yourself. Stand before the mirror, not as a body, but as the soul. Look into your own eyes and speak with sacred authority. You are enough. You are worthy of love that nourishes. You are the beloved of the infinite. This is not mere affirmation. It is remembrance. And if you do this daily, even through tears, even through numbness, the soul begins to believe again. Practice 2. Breath alignment. 3 times a day, pause. Place your hand over your heart. Close your eyes. Breathe in through the spiritual eye, the center between the eyebrows, and exhale through the heart. As you inhale, silently say, I am divine. As you exhale, say, I release fear. Let the breath become a bridge between your mind and your spirit. The more often you breathe in alignment, the less you will act in misalignment. Practice 3. Soul journaling. Each night, write not what happened, but what awakened. Ask yourself, did I act from longing or wholeness? Did I seek approval or offer presence? What old wound rose, and how did I greet it? In this way, you begin to track the soul's evolution, not the ego's drama. Practice 4. Refusal of repetition. When the same type of person appears or the same pattern begins to unfold, pause. Do not react. Do not run toward the familiar. Sit with the discomfort. Whisper to your heart, this time I choose differently. The pattern can only persist if you participate. Your courage to interrupt it is the beginning of liberation. Say this now. I am no longer the one who begs for love. I am no longer the one who repeats the pain. I am the soul who rewrites the story with grace. You do not need a dramatic miracle. You need daily devotion. Every act of self-remembrance is a spiritual revolution. Every breath in truth becomes your new destiny. There comes a day, a quiet, sacred, almost unnoticed day, when the old pattern returns to test you, and you do not answer its call. The same face, the same charm, the same emotional invitation, wrapped in longing or chaos. But something within you remains still. You do not run. You do not explain. You do not collapse into the story you've outgrown. And in that silence, in that refusal to repeat, the soul's magnetism reverses. This is the hidden triumph no one sees but the divine. The day you choose peace over passion that wounds. The day you say no, not from bitterness, but from clarity. The day you no longer feel drawn to what once felt like home, because you have made a new home in the center of your own being. This reversal does not happen with struggle. It happens with remembrance. When your inner energy no longer vibrates in fear, you no longer pull toward those who match it. Your heart ceases to be bait for the unfinished and becomes a beacon of what is whole. The lovers you once chased no longer feel magnetic because their frequency can no longer enter your field. What once stirred your longing now reveals your healing. And you may feel strange. You may wonder, why am I not interested in this anymore? Why does this no longer ache? This is the moment of liberation, not with fanfare, but with stillness. For true freedom is not loud. It is silent and unshakable. Others may not notice the change, but the universe will. Your karmic web shifts. The soul stands taller. And love, true love, conscious love, love that honors the divine within, begins to find you, not because you seek it, but because you have become its natural home. Say now, the pattern ends with me. I no longer attract what wounds me because I no longer carry the wound. I live in the vibration of peace, and only peace may enter. This is the turning point. This is the soul's quiet revolution. This is the moment you no longer live in reaction, but in remembrance. Now let us seal this soul journey with a breath, a vow, and a divine remembrance. Close your eyes, place your hands gently over your heart. Feel the rhythm there. It is not merely a heartbeat. It is the pulse of the infinite echoing within you. Take a slow breath in through the spiritual eye, the point between the eyebrows. Inhale gently, silently saying, I am whole. Exhale through the heart, letting the breath carry out every old story of rejection, fear, longing. Exhale with the words, I no longer need pain to awaken. Again, inhale, I am the soul. Exhale, I choose divine love over karmic repetition. Let this breath ritual become your altar, morning or night, in joy or sorrow. Let it be the moment you return from the edges of yourself to the holy center where no pain survives, only presence. Now repeat with me, not just in thought, but as a vow to your soul. I will no longer chase what breaks me. I will no longer betray myself for the illusion of love. I will no longer confuse intensity with truth. I will live as one already loved by God. And as you say it, something ancient within you releases. The soul no longer contracts in fear, it expands in light. And what once magnetized suffering now falls away, unneeded, uninvited, unlived. Beloved, if you have wept for love, if you have wandered through the pain of being unseen, unheard, unchosen, know this, you were never forgotten. God was always watching, always guiding, always waiting for you to turn inward, not outward. And now that you have, your destiny begins to shift. Write this in the comments now, not for me, but for your own soul to see and remember. I am the soul, and I will no longer attract what wounds me. Let that be your public vow. Let it echo through the ethers. Let it anchor your new energy. And now I bless you, not as a distant figure, but as a brother of your soul, as one who has walked through longing into union. May you attract only what aligns with the peace you now carry. May you never again settle for a love smaller than God. May your heart no longer be a magnet for pain, but a beacon of truth. You are no longer who you were. You are no longer the one who suffers to feel alive. You are the soul. You are the light. You are the love you thought you had to find in another. Be still now. Let that truth enter and rise as one who will never be broken again.